going on, boys and girls? Welcome back to another exciting, possibly potentially video. It's gonna be interesting. Times are interesting in Kansas. We definitely had a big, huge cold front roll through the last 2 nights. Temperature right now is like 40 degrees at best. Wind is blowing probably almost close to 20 from the west. So I guess my question to myself is why I'm even here trying to do this video. Well, it's Monday. I've got guide trips Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday into this weekend. The cold front is gonna continue. It's gonna remain cold the rest of the week. So I've got to try and figure out what's going on. But that being said, I have been on a cool little pattern that a couple of my buddies dialed me into for a bunch of Saugers, trolling crankbaits up shallow. And over the last couple days on my Facebook page, on Kansas Angling Experience Facebook page, I've gotten a lot of questions on, is there going to be a video for that? Why isn't there a video? Blah, blah, blah. Truth be told, I definitely should have came out and filmed a video the other day. Absolutely crushed them, but it started raining pretty bad. I got stuck in a crazy storm. If you guys follow me on Instagram, probably saw that. But I guess while I'm out, despite the wind, I think that it's supposed to come down. I am going to do kind of like a trolling tutorial on trolling crankbaits. Now, that being said, I am no like 100% expert on trolling crankbaits. It's something that I kind of cut my teeth on this lake here. When I very first started fishing it, I had no line counters, I had no maps, I had no fancy anything. I had a little shitty 16-foot deep V tiller boat, and I would just troll up and down the flats with crankbaits. Probably caught more and bigger walleyes than any other year, and that was before I even knew what I was doing. But I've got a couple other buddies that are super dialed in. That's what they do 95% of the time, probably, is pull crankbaits. So I'm gonna show you guys what I know about it, how to teach you guys how to become better trollers, so to speak, and see if we can't put a couple fish in the boat in the meantime. So let's get everything rigged up and I'll show you what I'm working with. Okay, so I guess first and foremost, what kind of fishing rod do you want when you're trolling crankbaits? Now, this is really up to interpretation. You can pretty much use, I guess, whatever you want to pull crankbaits. You can make it really simple. You can make it really complicated. I like to try and keep my spread to, you know, between like 3 and 6 rods, depending on how many people I have on the boat. You're allowed 3 rods per person here in Kansas with the 3 pull permit. So if I'm trolling and I've got 2 or more people on the boat, I'm probably going to utilize as many as possible. But for me, I've been trolling with 8 to 8.5 foot rods for the longest time. A lot of guys troll, you know, 10 footers, 12 footers, 14 footers to get those way out to the side. I like to keep it a little bit more manageable. So Fox River, one of my main sponsors, makes an excellent trolling rod. This is their 8-foot medium heavy model. It's rated as a medium heavy, but it's definitely more like a medium. It's got a real soft tip. You can see that crankbait vibrating and that bait working really well in the water. So those are my 2 go-to rods, or 2 8-footers. And then I also run 2 6-foot shorties. These are actually lead core rods. I actually just took off the lead core. I don't do much lead core trolling anymore, but this is a 6-foot rod that you can put off the back of the boat. So you've got an 8 or 8.5 foot rod off to the side, and then the 6-footer. Keep your baits spread away from each other so you don't get tangled up. But again, this is a trolling specific rod. It's an e-glass rod, so it's a parabolic rod. It bends all the way down to this first guide. And anything with treble hooks, that's obviously what you want. Something with a lot of give, so when the fish hits, you've got your drag set correctly in the right rod, so that when that fish hits, it does not pull those treble hooks out right away. Second biggest thing when it comes to trolling is the reel. Always want a line counter reel. These are Cabela's Depth Master reels. I have the same reels for all of my setups because trolling is all about replication. So I want all my trolling reels to be calibrated. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. I want all the reels the same so that all my spread is the same. Now, I've got 2 different sizes of reels here. This is a little bit smaller version. That's a 15 size. I run 10-pound Power Pro on that. That does seem a little bit light, but that 10-pound is actually what most popular crankbaits are rated for on the Precision Trolling Data depth curve chart. And that is something that we will also talk more about, is the dive curve of a crankbait and what you can do to achieve certain depths. So we've got 10-pound braid on all the trolling setups, 15 to 30 size trolling reels, depth counters. Got to make sure you know how far back those baits are. And while I get everything set up here, we'll talk about baits here in a second. All right, well, we are just getting set up on our first trolling pass here. It's basically just on a big mud flat, and that's when trolling becomes a really good technique. Obviously, cover a bunch of water, try and figure out what the fish want, have a nice big spread of baits going. So we're just gonna start out trolling with that cold front. The water's now dropped like 3 to 5 degrees in the last 3 to 5 days pretty much. We're sitting at just under 52 degrees. So we're probably gonna try and stay a little bit slower, kind of like on the 2 mile an hour side, whereas the last couple days been trolling up to anywhere from 2 to 2.2, 2.3 maybe, but I'm really not sure. We're just gonna try and figure out what the fish want, but dialing in your speed first is key. So one other thing that I think we might do today is run planer boards. Definitely something that I have not done a lot of, hardly ever. So I'll kind of teach you guys and show you guys about those here in just a second, but we're gonna get some of these rods out. All right, for the most part, we've been running a lot smaller crankbaits than we normally would kind of in the summer months. This is a number 5 jointed flicker shad. Number 5 is probably one of the smaller sizes that I'd use. Sometimes go down to a number 4, but I've actually got to replace the front hook on that, but that's a jointed number 5 Berkeley flicker shad. So with these longer 8-foot rods, we're gonna put these on planer boards today. So I'm gonna let out probably around 50 to 60 feet of line, get that bait down, probably in that 8-foot zone, and pop my planer board on. I'll show you guys how to do that here. All right, so I'm gonna start with 40 feet. I'm gonna start a little bit on the shorter side because that's what I was doing yesterday, putting out about 30 feet of line, putting the planer board on and getting that thing out to the side. So if you guys aren't aware of what a planer board is, planer boards basically take your baits all the way out to the side of the boat, get those away from the main engine, the trolling motor, whatever, in case the fish are gonna be spooky, especially since we're only in anywhere between 6 to 8 to 9 feet of water right now. So these are actually a custom planer board that my buddy Kevin Parks here in Kansas makes. He's probably one of the best catfish fishermen in the state, but he makes these for catfish in a bigger size, and he gave me a couple of smaller ones that he made to try out for crankbait trolling. That's what I did yesterday when I hammered fish, so we're gonna start out with boards. But pretty much once you get your desired line out, it's got 2 clips on it here, so clip your line first in this one and then through the swivel right there, and that's what's gonna send it out to the side. So now that you've got your board out, you can pretty much dictate how far you want that board off to the side. I'm not gonna go too terribly far, maybe just let out like another 15 to 20 feet, get them way out there. Make sure you turn your clicker on, set your drag, put it in the rod holder, boom, done. First rod is set. So now I'm gonna do the same thing with my other rods. I'm gonna switch this view to a little bit wider view so you guys can see what I'm doing. But let's get the other ones in the water here. Oh, we got a fish on. We got a fish on. Okay. I was like trying to shoot some B-roll and now we got a fish on. I don't know where to put this. Not big, but it is a fish. It is indeed our dickhead friend when we're trolling crankbaits, Mr. White Bass. But that took all of like 30 seconds. I was literally just trying to shoot some B-roll footage of the rods once I got them set, and that's when the rod went off. So I'm gonna get this fish off here and turn around and make another pass. But yeah, it's awfully windy. Here we go. First planer board trolling fish of the video. Yay. Fish on. Fish on. We're on. Another white. Oh. We have a baby wiper. That's why he was out of his mind. Okay, so let me show you guys what's going on here. All right, so you guys can see the board has come down to the bait here. Now, what happens when a fish hits really hard is it pops from this clip right here and sends that board all the way down to the bait. So you're fighting the planer board and the fish. Now sometimes that's not always going to happen. Like on that first fish, I had to unclip the board myself, which isn't a huge deal, but they are designed to pop sometimes so that board comes all the way down to the fish and you don't have to worry about it. That is what a freshly stocked wiper looks like. It is tiny, so not our target species, but we're still getting bites, so that's good. So I'll reset this one and turn around and do it again. All right, well, now that we're set up on kind of another pass here, it's kind of been hectic with those white bass and wipers that show up when you're trolling. It kind of just makes it a whole shit show. But a couple other things to note here when it comes to crankbaits and stuff. I like using a #1 size cross lock snap, not a snap swivel, but just a snap. Now, main reason for this is because obviously when we're switching up baits and trying to figure out what the fish want, it makes it easy to just swap baits out with that snap. But that being said, it does help that crankbait move a little bit better in the water instead of tying that directly to the bait. So one more thing too, when it comes to your crankbaits, I mentioned at the beginning the dive curve. Now, I would do a little bit of research on this. You guys saw kind of in that B-roll clip there, the actual dive curve chart. That tells you, okay, so I've got this size of a bait, it's supposed to dive this deep. How much line do I have to put out to get it down to that desired depth? Now, your dive curve only works as good as your calibrated trolling reels. So that's another thing that I might do another video on, but you guys can look those up on YouTube. There's plenty of them. But basically having your line counter reels calibrated means when I let out 60 feet of line, it is a true 60 feet of line. A lot of that is kind of up to interpretation. A lot of guys just let line out until you hit bottom and then reel up a couple cranks, so you're just barely ticking it or staying above it. But having your trolling reels calibrated with your line is definitely key if you want to become a better troller, so to speak. But that dive curve chart also has, you know, so if you're using 10-pound Trilene XT mono, if you're using 10-pound Fireline, Power Pro, whatever it might be, it has those options on there too. So look that up. But if you buy Berkley flicker shads now, they actually come with them in the packaging themselves. So I just taped mine to the inside of one of my crankbait boxes that has #5 flicker shads in it. So definitely something to look into. But other than that, we've had 2 passes and 2 rips. So I'm just gonna put the camera back on the dash here, do a little bit more fishing, and maybe go over a couple other things once we catch another fish. We have got a fish on. Man, we just cannot get rid of these guys today. Yesterday, I hardly caught any. Today, that's all there is. But, you know, we're catching fish, trolling with boards, so whatever. Just got bit on the flat line on the shorty back behind the boat. I think it feels like the right flavor. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, real nice Sauger. All right, first of the right flavor right there. That's a nice, probably 16.5-inch Sauger. We're not keeping any fish today. I've kept my fair share of these little guys. Nice eaters the last couple days, so we're gonna let them go. But that color's definitely been hot for me lately. It's pretty marked up. So, but again, that one came on the flat line. I had it 50 feet back behind the boat on that little 6-foot shorty rod. So we've gotten bit on everything now. That's great. Let them go. Oh, we got another fish on. Slow the boat down. We have got another one on. Another target species here. So we can call that a double, right? That was pretty much a double. There you go. Second Sauger. That one is not a keeper, but it's a double either way. So now we're just gonna take a break. I'm gonna turn around. We're gonna try and replicate that pattern. So that first bite came on the flat line 50 feet back behind the boat. And that second one came, I think that was just about 60 feet back on the board. So now we're gonna keep that speed right around 2.2, turn around and do it again. Oop, fish on. Off in the net. Just another keeper right there, another little male, little eater. But again, we are not keeping fish today. That'll be number 2 for keepers though, on the target species. Just switched up colors too. So that's definitely a good sign, but I like it. But yeah, on that one, I just switched up to that, I forget the name of that color, but man, purple and chartreuse belly on there. Beauty. So again, we've got 2 keepers in the boat. It's been getting bit on pretty much everything. The board rods are getting bit the most, so that's neat. Fish on, fish on. I just put this board out. I love coming in behind guys that are trying to follow my same line and then catching one right in front of them. Not a big one, but it is the target species. I literally just set that board. Sweet. Fish on. I was just dicking around with the boards because it's all jacked up and I got it. Another one for the flat line. Nice little keeper. So if you guys have been watching at all in this video, trolling should not be boring. There's so many factors going into trolling. It should not be like a relaxing activity. I mean, you can make it that way, but if you want to troll effectively, I'm always watching my rod tips to make sure that rod tip's still vibrating. That way there's no like sticks or weeds or anything fouled up on the bait itself. I'm always watching the board, watching my speed. My speed is key. I'm always watching my map. But you know, bringing up those baits every 10 or 15 minutes to either change colors or check to make sure they're not fouled up with anything. But yeah, there's a lot to it. So you should not be bored trolling, and if you are, get better at it. Fish on every time. Whew, that could have been bad. Not the target species. All right, fish on. I think I'll make this our last one of the day. I was just bringing up that board because I had dropped it back quite a bit, and as soon as I started reeling a little bit quicker, that rod got crushed. But that wind died significantly, and the bite pretty much did too. So let's say, lost him, dicking around. Poof. All right, well, that's gonna just about do it for me this afternoon. That was pretty fun. Got some good rips in, nothing huge. Probably would have had 3 keeper saugers, some shorts, some white bass, a couple small wipers, but hopefully you guys learned something. Sometimes I find it really, really difficult to cover all of the subjects for a topic like trolling that has so much to it in one video, but I definitely try. So we've got a couple of variables that come into play when it comes to trolling. Number 1, your rod. You want a longer rod for your outside rods. Obviously the inside rods out the back, a little bit shorter, but either way, you want those to be a real soft parabolic rod so that when those fish hit, they don't pull the trebles out right away. Reels, you want a 15, 20, or 30 size line counter reel. Cabela's has them super cheap. Those are great. I troll braid here in Kansas. A lot of guys up north stick to monofilament, but I like 10-pound braid. It follows the dive curve for all the crankbaits that I use. You guys can use 20 or 30-pound braid. You just kind of have to adjust accordingly, but my personal preference, speed is key. Dial in your speed somewhere between 2.3 with this cold water, but when the water warms up, you can bump it up to like 2.5, sometimes even 3 miles an hour. Those fish want to chase. Staggering your lines, obviously. You don't want your lines to cross. Make sure those crankbaits run true. Look up how to tune a crankbait. Maybe I'll do another video on that, but you obviously don't want your crankbaits veering off to the left or to the right, crossing your other lines. So those are just some of the basic things. That's about all I can say about that. Hopefully you guys learned something. I'll try and do some more of these instructional type videos where I'm catching fish too. If you guys like the video, make sure you subscribe. If you guys have questions about stuff and things, drop a comment down below or just send me an email. Do not message my Facebook page unless you want to book a trip. I'm happy to answer all the questions that I possibly can, but when they barrage my business page on Facebook with just random questions, kind of gets a little irritating. So drop a comment down below with any questions or send me an email. All my contact information is below. That's all I've got for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.